My name is Ilara. I am 26 years old, and betrayal came wrapped in frosting and cheap humor at my own birthday. I still remember the way the candle flickered on that single leftover cupcake. The room was loud with laughter, but none of it was for me. My brother had just celebrated his birthday the week before. A rooftop lounge, a professional photographer, a Rolex glimmering on his wrist like proof of his worth. And me? A half-melted candle and a card that mocked me. Congrats on wasting another year. When I didn't laugh, when my silence cut sharper than their giggles, Mom smirked and said, "Relax, it's just a joke, unless you're still sensitive." That word, sensitive, hung in the air like poison. If betrayal has ever silenced you, I whisper now to anyone listening, share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more, because sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people who raised you, clothed you, pretended to love you, until their love was measured against Rolex watches and rented rooftops. I stared at that table, the half-empty soda bottles, the cupcakes smeared with frosting that wasn't even fresh, and I snapped a photo, not for memory, for evidence. Then I pushed my chair back, stood up without a word, and walked out. The silence in my wake was heavier than any outburst could have been. That night, my phone lit up. A message from my cousin. "What did you do?" And that was the moment I realized whatever storm I had just unleashed was bigger than the cupcake, bigger than the card, bigger than me. I thought walking away was the end. I didn't know it was the spark that would burn through everything. My cousin's call came before the messages. "Why did you post that photo?" she blurted, breathless. "The auntie's group is exploding. Your mom says you humiliated the family." I hadn't written a bitter caption. Just one word under the picture of the plastic table and the sagging cupcake. Noted. It turns out, truth doesn't need adjectives. On our family thread, the performances began. Dad typed a lecture about learning to laugh at yourself. Mom added a prayer hands emoji like it could bless disrespect. My brother sent a video from his rooftop party again. Slow motion confetti, the Rolex catching city lights, a highlight reel of where their love goes when it isn't coming to me. Flashbacks rose like steam. Age 17, I washed dishes while they sang for him. Age 21, I baked my own cake after my shift. Age 24, Dad forgot. My day, but wired money to help my brother build his brand. Family backstory reads neat on paper, but cuts in real life. Dad, a logistics supervisor who preaches merit, except merit means my son. Mom, who runs a boutique and believes image is everything, especially when a camera points at her favorite child. My brother, a lifestyle vlogger whose job is to make ordinary days look expensive. And Aunt Lila, a night shift nurse who always keeps a spare slice and a softer word just for me. My cousin lowered her voice. "Your mom told everyone you ruined dinner. But people saw the photo. They're asking why your plate looked like a joke." I didn't argue. I've spent years arguing and paying for the privilege. What I did instead was open my work email. I handle corporate partnerships for event venues, bookings, contracts, vendor lists. My surname sits quietly on more agreements than my family has ever acknowledged. I scrolled through last week's reservations and stopped at 3 entries. Skyline Rooftop Lounge, booked with my employee code. Crown and Lens Photography, my corporate rate applied. Jewelcraft Authorized Dealer, a purchase routed through a family VIP referral I never authorized. Heat rose in my chest, then cooled into clarity. They hadn't just favored him. They'd used me to do it. My phone buzzed again. My cousin, this time with a screenshot that made my hands go still. The screenshot froze me in place. It wasn't just a casual text. It was the family group chat, without me in it. Atiu. The top, the name mocked me. Real family only. My mother's message glared back at me. "Don't tag Ilara in the photos. She gets dramatic." My brother replied with laughing emojis. Dad added, "She should be grateful we gave her anything." And then came the line that cut deepest. My brother's smug note under a photo of him holding the Rolex. "Funny how she thinks she's independent. She doesn't even realize she funded all of this." My chest tightened. I stared at the words until they blurred. So it was true. The lounge, the photographer, the watch, all of it had been mine. My discounts, my codes, my connections, they had used me as a silent sponsor while tossing me a stale cupcake. I called Aunt Lila that night. She answered on her break, her voice tired but warm. I told her everything. The cupcake, the real family-only chat, the screenshot. She sighed heavily. Ilara, they've been feeding off you for years. You just didn't see it. Maybe now you do. Her words stung because they were true. I thought about every favor I had quietly done, every booking I had smoothed over, every discount I had given. They had turned my silence into their currency, but silence can also be turned into something sharper. I opened my laptop and began pulling records. Every booking has a trail, receipts, codes, approvals. One by one, I gathered them. My brother's luxury party had my fingerprints all over it, but not in the way they imagined. The more I collected, the steadier I felt. Their betrayal had been loud and public. Mine would be quiet, invisible. Until it wasn't. I almost closed the folder until another email notification slid across my screen. Subject line, unauthorized charges, urgent review required. And just like that, I knew this story wasn't about a cupcake anymore. The email subject pulsed at me. Unauthorized charges, urgent review required. I clicked. Rows of numbers filled the screen. Transactions routed through my corporate account. Some matched the Rooftop lounge, the photographer, the watch, but others were worse. Clothing boutiques, dinner reservations, even hotel stays, all approved under my employee privileges. My pulse quickened. This wasn't just one party. It was a pattern. They had been feeding on my access for months, maybe years. I leaned back, the quiet of my apartment pressing in. For 15 minutes, I couldn't move. Then my hands steadied. I began downloading every invoice, saving each screenshot into a folder I labeled Truth, the Betrayal. No longer hurt like it did that night with the cupcake. Pain had burned itself out, leaving behind something colder, a clarity I had never known. I thought of Dad, forever preaching responsibility while slipping my name under his son's bills. I thought of Mom, smiling for pictures while cutting me out of the frame. I thought of my brother, calling himself self-made while polishing a Rolex I had unknowingly paid for. And then I thought of Aunt Lila, who once gave me her entire overtime pay just so I could buy textbooks in college, the only one who had never asked for anything in return. That night, I drafted an email to my company's fraud department. Calm, precise, professional. I attached every file, every receipt. I didn't mention names, not yet, but the codes told their own story. Before I hit send, I whispered to myself, "You wanted me invisible. Now watch what happens when I stop covering for you." I pressed send. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not because the war was over, but because I had finally chosen to fight. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls from Mom, texts from Dad, my brother's name flashing like a siren. None of them knew yet what I had done. But they could feel the ground shifting beneath their feet. And as the day unfolded, one message arrived that made me sit straight up. "Ilara, this is HR. We need to speak immediately." The HR office smelled faintly of coffee and disinfectant. My manager sat across from me, eyes sharp, a stack of papers between us. "Do you know these charges?" she asked, tapping the invoices. I kept my voice steady. "Yes. And I know they weren't mine." Her brow furrowed. "Then whose?" I slid the folder across the desk. Every screenshot, every receipt, every discount code tied neatly together. These were authorized using my account, but not by me. I believe my family accessed my credentials. She read in silence, the only sound the hum of the fluorescent light above us. Finally, she exhaled. "Ilara, thank you for bringing this forward. We'll handle it internally. You've done the right thing." Walking out of that office, I expected fear. Instead, I felt calm. For years I had carried their weight. Now it was shifting back where it belonged. That evening, the storm broke. Mom called first, her voice shrill. "How could you embarrass us like this? Do you know what you've done?" I didn't reply. Silence was my answer. Minutes later, Dad's text arrived. "Fix this before your brother's reputation is destroyed." And then my brother, furious. "You're jealous. You've always been jealous, but this time you've gone too far." I laughed bitterly. Jealous? I had paid for his stage, his spotlight. All I had done was turn on the lights so everyone could see who was really standing there. Later that night, Aunt Lila stopped by. She placed a warm container of soup on my counter and hugged me without a word. "They're panicking," she said softly. "Your cousin told me your mom is calling relatives, saying you betrayed the family. But people aren't buying it anymore. They saw the photo, Ilara. They saw the truth." I nodded. Then let them feel what betrayal tastes like. For the first time, the balance was shifting. They had built their comfort on my sile. The email was brief but devastating. "Our investigation has identified external parties misusing your employee credentials. Rest assured, corrective action is underway. Further updates will follow." External parties. That meant my family's names were now sitting in a corporate report. By noon, the fallout started to ripple. My brother's social media, once a highlight reel of rooftop views and Rolex selfies, went quiet. His sponsors had pulled back. Brand deals vanish fast when fraud whispers get loud. At the boutique, Mom fielded questions she couldn't dodge. Clients asked if she really mocked her own daughter's birthday. Someone had screenshotted her line, "Relax, unless you're still sensitive." It had already circulated beyond family circles. Her curated image of the doting mother cracked under the weight of her own words. Dad wasn't spared either. At his logistics job, coworkers teased him in hushed tones. "Merit, huh? Guess merit means stealing from your own kid." He tried to laugh it off, but shame stains sharper than ink. Meanwhile, HR called me back in. "Ilara, we're locking your account temporarily for security. Don't worry, this doesn't reflect on you. In fact," she paused, softening her tone, "the board noticed your honesty. It's rare. They want you to lead the new compliance initiative." I blinked. A promotion. The same family who had used my silence had just handed me the opportunity to turn that silence into power. That night, my phone lit up with frantic messages. "Mom, we need to talk. Privately. Dad, you're ruining everything we built. Brother, you'll regret this. We're family." Family. The word felt empty now, stripped of its meaning. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the latest update to Aunt Lila, who simply texted back, "Proud of you. Don't look back." Still, a knot twisted in my stomach. Not guilt. No, that was gone. It was anticipation, because I knew this wasn't the end of the collapse. The next update would hit harder. And this time, it wouldn't just be emails. It would be public. It didn't take long. The company released a formal statement. "We are investigating external misuse of employee privileges linked to fraudulent bookings and purchases." They didn't name names. They didn't have to. In a small city, everyone connects the dots faster than headlines can keep up. By evening, whispers turned into open conversations. At the cafe near the boutique, two women leaned over lattes. "Did you hear? Her son's Rolex wasn't even bought legitimately. And that rooftop party? Paid for by someone else's account." Someone else. Everyone knew who. My brother tried damage control. He went live on his vlog, face carefully lit, voice dripping with practiced charm. "People will say anything to tear you down when you're successful," he said. Comments scrolled faster than he could read them. "Is that why your sister only got a cupcake?" Success? More like stealing discounts. "Where's the Rolex now, fraud boy?" He ended the stream abruptly. Mom fared no better. A client canceled a large boutique order, citing ethical concerns. She called me, her tone shifting from anger to pleading. "Ilara, just say it was a misunderstanding. You know how sensitive people are these days." Sensitive. The same word she once used to dismiss me. Now it was her shield. I didn't reply. Silence, I had learned, was louder than any argument. Dad cornered me in the driveway a few nights later, his voice low. "You think you've won? All you've done is break this family apart." I looked at him, steady. "I didn't break anything. I just stopped holding it together." His jaw clenched, but he had no answer. Meanwhile, Aunt Leila stopped by with groceries. She hugged me tightly. "They'll try to spin it, but the truth is already out. Let it breathe." Imikai nodded, though my heart beat faster. Because I knew the truth wasn't done breathing yet, and 2 days later, it exhaled in the form of a certified letter delivered to my door. The envelope was heavy, its seal crisp. My hands didn't shake when I opened it. Inside was the corporate conclusion. Investigation complete. External parties confirmed. Restitution required. Legal measures pending. Attached were copies of the charges, every lounge booking, every photographer's invoice, every jewelry receipt. All traced back to them. Their names sat in black and white, where no excuses could hide. I leaned back in my chair. This wasn't just about money, it was about exposure. For years, they had mocked me as sensitive, laughed at my small celebrations, used me as their invisible resource. Now, their arrogance was stapled into an official document. That night, my brother showed up at my door, no Rolex on his wrist. His voice cracked as he begged, "Alara, just tell them it was a mistake. Say you approved it." I looked at him, the same boy I once stayed up with when he was sick, the same brother whose success I quietly cheered for, even when it erased me, and I said calmly, "I don't cover theft." His face fell, words dying on his lips. Mom called next, her tone breaking. "We're family, Alara. Doesn't that mean anything?" I almost laughed. Family meant loyalty, respect, shared love, not cupcake leftovers and stolen codes. "Family," I said softly, "isn't built on betrayal." Aunt Lila came over later, carrying fresh bread. She sat with me at the kitchen table, her eyes shining. "They thought they could keep taking because you'd never speak. But you didn't even need to speak. You just stopped covering for them." Her words felt like truth sewn into my bones. I poured her tea, and for the first time in years, my birthday didn't feel small. It felt like freedom. If you've ever forgiven someone who didn't deserve it, tell me below. And subscribe for more true tales. The cupcake was the last straw.